It's time to talk all things running backs as it relates to the Buffalo Bills and the 2022 NFL Draft today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino from the Draft Network, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Happy Wednesday to you, and thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, or if you're joining us on YouTube, your first watch every day. We're going to talk running backs today. We're going to talk about the Bills running backs and the 2022 NFL Draft. I want to get you ready for the 2022 NFL Draft from a Bills angle, and today specifically through running backs. And we'll do an episode like this for all of the Bills' top needs. All right, so running back I would consider one of the top needs, just like I would cornerback, wide receiver. And so a podcast episode just like this one is coming for some of those other positions as well. So in the first segment, we're going to talk just some philosophical things about running backs. And then the second and third segments, I'm going to break down specific players. We're going to talk about 16 different running backs that I'd like for the Bills in this draft class. And maybe you're new to listening to Locked On Bills, and if you are, I just want to take a quick moment to remind you of my background. I've been scouting the NFL Draft since 2013 professionally. This is what I do. This is my full-time job. I work for the draftnetwork.com. I scout football players. I write scouting reports. And this is just kind of my wheelhouse. The Buffalo Bills, the NFL Draft, this is the intersection of those two things. And so I'm very excited to talk to you about these things. And so I'm going to be very specific with my opinions on these prospects. And I can tell you that I'm coming from a very informed position. I've been working on this draft class since last May. I have a lot of thoughts that are rooted in a lot of work and a lot of film study and really breaking these guys down. And obviously, I work with the Draft Network. We have 4 other full-time scouts on staff and 2 part-timers. We talk about these players every day and have since last May. And so everything I'm saying with you today comes from a very informed perspective where a lot of work has been put in to formulate these opinions. I'm not going to get it all right. If you haven't missed, then you haven't scouted. But I can tell you that all of the opinions that I will share with you on players for the 2022 NFL Draft comes from a well-researched position and point of view. So let's talk just a little bit about running backs in general and the need that exists for the Buffalo Bills. The need's very obvious to me. The only running back signed to the Buffalo Bills beyond this season is Zach Moss. This is a contract year for Devin Singletary. Duke Johnson's a one-year thing. Tywan Jones is a year-to-year guy. He doesn't really help you running the football anyways. And so you need some long-term answers, and I think in the immediate you can upgrade. And so the need here is very, very clear. Now let's talk a little bit about positional value. And it's pretty well stated on my behalf where I am on running backs. I think that it is a low-value position. It's good to have a good running back. I want that. I just don't want to ever draft one in the first round or pay a significant contract to have a good running back. I mean, this is a player for your offense that's going to touch the football 200 or so times. They are important. You want to have a good running back. The challenge with the conversation is that finding running back production isn't hard to find in the NFL. It's the easiest production to find. And so because of that, I am adverse to using a first-round pick on a running back or paying a significant contract for a running back. When you have to make concessions on your team because you're paying your quarterback $45 million a season, the first place I would look at is running back. And so I am for having a good running back. I am against using significant resources to obtain it. Survey the running back landscape in the NFL right now. Who are the best running backs in the league? Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Austin Eckler. I just named a bunch of really, really good running backs, right? Not one of them was a first-round pick. How about some breakout players at running back in the NFL? Guys that we think are on the upswing in their career and could be big-time factors next season. Javonte Williams, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, Elijah Mitchell, A.J. Dillon, Devin Singletary. Still haven't named a first-round running back. But there are first-round running backs like Zeke Elliott and Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. And all three of those teams would love to get out of the contract that they have right now for that running back. The NFL has proven year after year after year after year that you can get quality running back contributions outside of the first round and not from players that you are paying a significant amount of money towards. So that's my first little spiel on positional value and the need that the Bills have at running back. I also want to talk next about speed at running back. You all know that I love speed and athleticism for every football player. I'm a traits guy. And we'd all love to see the Bills find more speed and athleticism at running back, especially after having Devin Singletary and Zach Moss as the primary ball carriers of late. But I do want to be cautious to everyone about not being overly infatuated with speed. I personally want to see the Bills add more speed at running back so that they can legitimately challenge the edges of the defense. Not necessarily because I want to have a home run threat. I like home runs. I like long runs. But to me, my root of wanting more speed in the backfield is because I want the Bills to be able to stress teams in multiple ways running the football, which includes off-tackle runs and perimeter runs. Long runs, explosive long runs are not normal in the NFL. Only 3 running backs last season had more than 10 runs of 20 yards or more. Only 3 had more than 10 runs of 20 yards or more. Jonathan Taylor, who had 14, 4.2% of his runs went for 20 or more yards. Nick Chubb had 12. 5.2% of his carries went for 20 or more yards. And then Rashad Penny had 11 runs of 20 yards or more. Only 10 running backs last year in the NFL had more than 5 runs of 20 plus yards. It's a very low percentage thing that happens in the NFL. We have to be careful to not major in something that's minor. It's great if you have speed to take it the distance, but let's be real about how often that happens. And we've seen slow running backs take it the distance against the Buffalo Bills. Damian Harris with the New England Patriots. How long were those touchdown runs last year? Like 60 plus yards? He runs a 4.57 40-yard dash. And so while I want us to care a lot about speed and it matters and it's a nice bonus, let's care about speed for the right reasons and not sit here and say, oh, the Bills have to get a home run threat at running back. They need a speed back to hit home runs. Well, Matt Breida is the fastest running back in the NFL. How'd that work out last year? CJ Spiller, all the speed in the world. There's more to it than just being fast. And so while I want us to care about speed, I don't want to become overly infatuated to the point where it's the most important thing to us, because that would be majoring and minoring, and I think that's bad process. Last thing that I want to say here about running backs and positional value is the economic side of this. And I broke this down on Herd Mentality yesterday on the Tuesday podcast, where I was given a question by Daniel, and I want to read the question and kind of work through my answer again here because this is good information. Daniel wrote me an email and said, one thing I was hoping you could discuss for those folks who are team draft a running back in the first round is the economics of it. I find myself explaining this quite a bit to my friends, but obviously can't do as good of a job as you. When you talk about finding quality running back production in later rounds, you can also find cheap running back production in free agency. Drafting a running back in the first round instantly puts that running back amongst the higher paid running backs in the league as a rookie, especially in the top 10. It would be incredibly difficult for a player to ever live up to that contract. I love Saquon Barkley as a player, but even in his rookie contract, in my opinion, it wasn't a value. Contrast that with premium or higher paid positions like edge, wide receiver, or corner, where second contracts are quite large. The value of that rookie deal or cheap labor is massive. To summarize, the economics of a rookie contract make it more attractive to draft premium positions over running backs, regardless of the perceived production a first-round running back may have. It's a great point, and I want to expand on this just like I did yesterday. The 25th pick in the first round of the 2022 NFL Draft, the pick that the Bills hold, they're going to sign a 4-year, $14.3 million deal. That's an average annual salary of $3.6 million. $3.6 million on average would be the 20th highest paid running back in the NFL. You draft a running back at 25, they're a top 20 paid running back in the NFL on day one. $14.3 million in terms of total contract value would be the 14th highest in the NFL among running backs. That's crazy, right? You're going to draft a running back and they're going to step into the NFL on day one and be 14th in the league in terms of total contract value. When you compare that to a cornerback or a wide receiver, the same thing. They're going to sign a 4-year, $14.3 million deal regardless of the position they play. At cornerback, that $3.6 million average annual value, that's 48th in the NFL. At receiver, it's also 48th. And then the thing I brought up yesterday about Greg Rousseau, the Bills drafted him number 30 overall as a rookie. In that rookie deal, Greg Rousseau last year was the 90th highest paid edge player in the NFL. So not only is the production easy to find, there's a massive discrepancy when you talk about the contract value. The contract value always skews heavily towards premium positions. And that's why it's always good to draft premium positions in the first round, not because they're premium and they matter the most, but from the economic side of things where you're already absorbing a bad contract by picking a player at a non-premium position, especially running back. We talk about Built Bars, the world's best tasting protein bars, but have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, then you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they are a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate because all Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, and they're healthy for you. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Tons of great flavors. They got mint brownie, coconut, raspberry, coconut almond, and they're coming out with new flavors all the time. And at Built Bar, it's all about taste. They make it taste great first, then they figure out how to make it healthy, and I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. I got a deal for you. Go to Built.com, use our promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, let's talk about these prospects, the players that I like for the Buffalo Bills at running back in this draft, and we'll go through them in order. I have my rankings. These are my Bills-specific rankings. So if you pull up my rankings at thedraftnetwork.com and they're not in this order, that's because those rankings are for me scouting in a vacuum. These rankings are my rankings that are specific to the Buffalo Bills. There's going to be players that you'll see on my big board that I don't even have here because I don't think they're fits for the Buffalo Bills. But I have 16 running backs that I like in this draft for the Buffalo Bills. And I want to talk about the day 2 options and then the day 3 options we'll get to. And so what I'm going to do is tell you about the player, talk about their athleticism. I'll tell you 2 of their best traits, the concern, and a player comp. And when I give you a player comp, it's a stylistic comp. The way that they perform, the way that they win is similar. And they also have similar size and athleticism. It's not a career arc. So if I compare a running back to another running back, that doesn't mean that they're going to be that player, and all the same things will be true about them in the NFL that is true that will be true eventually about the prospect. This is a stylistic comparison. So let's get into it. My running back 1, and these are day 2. I don't have a running back with a first round value. So these are day 2 grades. Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M is my RB1, 6 foot, 217 pounds. He's an average to below average athlete. He did hit 21 miles per hour during the season at Texas A&M. And again, he's 6 foot, 217 pounds. I think he's the best blend of vision and contact balance in this class. I think he's serviceable on passing down. So you have a guy that is an absolute hammer between the tackles, that sees the field well and has good contact balance and is tough to tackle, but he also gives you that ability to catch the football out of the backfield and pass block. The major concern that I have with Isaiah Spiller is he's not super elusive. Now he's got enough twitch to work laterally and, get into adjacent gaps when linebackers flash in a hole, and he anticipates well, but he's not super springy laterally, and he has some ball security issues that he has to clean up. But his vision, his contact balance, and his ability to navigate tight quarters is unmatched in this draft class. My comparison for him is Arian Foster. The next player I want to get into is Kenneth Walker III. He's my RB2, pretty closely rated to Isaiah Spiller. He's out of Michigan State, 5'9", 211 pounds. He's an outstanding athlete. He ran in the 4.3s at the combine. He's a super explosive guy. He has excellent vision and contact balance, maybe just a tick below Spiller. He's got inside-outside capability in terms of being able to run the football between the tackles and work the perimeter. And so you love this package of size, athleticism, vision, contact balance, inside-outside potential. The concern with Kenneth Walker is just the passing down value is very, very below average, especially in pass protection. I think he can get better as a pass blocker and as a pass catcher. And he just didn't get a ton of opportunities to catch a football at Michigan State. But the pass pro stuff is something that he has to grow majorly in. My comparison for him is Noshan Moreno. My RB3 is Breece Hall out of Iowa State. 5'11", 217 pounds. He's an exceptional athlete. This guy is super dynamic athletically, and you see it on tape. My favorite things about Breece Hall is that he's super creative and elusive in space, especially at the second level. When he gets free, he makes some really dynamic cuts and finds space in very creative ways. Number 2 is that I think he should be a major factor in the passing game. I think this is a guy that can separate from linebackers in coverage and catch a football and really be a factor as a receiving threat. My concern with Breece Hall is that I think he has modest to below average vision and contact balance. And that's hard for me because I think the 2 most important traits for a running back is vision and contact balance. I think you have to have those things. And I think he's below average in both departments. Now, once he gets into space, he's really creative, but how he negotiates the line of scrimmage and presses holes and works in terms of anticipating space, not really his strength in my mind. And we're talking about a guy that was amazingly productive in the Big 12, but a lot of that production is clear air production, light boxes, tons of space. It's going to be a different world for him in the NFL. So you love the creativeness, you love the elusiveness, the pass catching ability, what this guy can do in space. The challenge is getting to space for him, where I don't think he has great vision or contact balance. My comp for Breece Hall is Joe Mixon. Don't love that comp. I like a lot of my comps a lot. This one's not one of my favorites. That's because Breece is just such a unique player. And so it's not easy to come up with a stylistic comparison. My last day 2 running back that I would like for the Buffalo Bills, and this is more third round, Brian Robinson out of Alabama, 6'2", 225 pounds. He's an average athlete, but when I say average athlete, that means for a running back. But for a 6'2", 225-pound running back, I think he's got really good athleticism. So my favorite things about Brian Robinson, he's an absolute hammer running the football between the tackles. He is tough to get on the ground. He is explosive into contact, and he is willing to lower his shoulder and really challenge you. He's got good contact balance and vision. And then the other thing that I really like about Brian Robinson is that I get excited about his presence in the lineup and daring teams to play cover 2. You want to give Brian Robinson light boxes, you're going to be in trouble because this guy can negotiate that space. He's physical, and he's going to churn out tough yards. You go light in the box against this guy, he's going to make you pay. Now, the concern with Brian Robinson, the thing that I don't like is that he's not super elusive. This isn't a guy that you're going to draft because of twitch and elusiveness and shiftiness in space. He's a downhill hammer, good enough speed for his size, tough to tackle, but he's not, look, don't confuse this guy with the second coming of LaShawn McCoy. That's not his game. My comparison to him is James Conner, but more explosive. And that's kind of what I'm talking about with the presence in the lineup, like James Conner in Arizona in that spread offense, and you're putting, light personnel on the field if you're a defense, but now you have to deal with James Conner in the backfield. That's tough to deal with. And that's what I think about with the Bills. Like, okay, put 10 personnel on the field, have 4 wide receivers, spread out that defense, and put Brian Robinson next to Josh Allen. And you're really going to put that defense in a bind from a personnel groupings perspective because they're going to want to go light on their personnel. But all of a sudden, you've got a backfield combination of Josh Allen and Brian Robinson who are really tough to deal with if they take off and run the football. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and save money when using Rock Auto. Why would you choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? They have everything you can need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure you write Locked On in their "How did you hear about us" box so they know that we sent you. They have amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car will ever need over at rockauto.com. We got a bunch more running backs to get to, but these are now my early day 3 prospects, your 4th round type players. If you really love them, maybe you take them late in the 3rd, trade up or something like that. These are more 4th and early 5th round targets for me. And this is where the value is. This is where I always think the value is when you talk running backs. I like all the backs that I talked about already, but these are the guys that I think can really provide return on investment if you get your hands on one of these players in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. Let's start with Pierre Strong, South Dakota State, 5'11", 207, an exceptional athlete, 4.3 speed. What do I like about him? He's a big play machine. 7.2 yards per carry across his career on nearly 600-something rushes. This guy has been consistently producing. And he averages for his career over 4 yards after contact per attempt. So you want Breece Hall in the 1st round? Just wait and get Pierre Strong in the 3rd or the 4th round. To me, that's the value play. So he's a big play machine, good contact balance, has upside catching the football. The downside is he's got almost 700 career touches, and he's facing a notable jump in competition. Going from the FCS and dealing with the spacing and defenders that you have to beat in the FCS level and now the NFL, there's always a little bit of an adjustment there. But small school running backs have done well in the NFL. It doesn't mean that Pierre Strong can't do that. It's just something that you got to be mindful of because there might need to be some stylistic shifts and different expectations when he gets the football in the NFL compared to, at South Dakota State. Next up is James Cook out of Georgia, 5'11", 199 pounds, terrific athlete. He is the brother of Dalvin Cook. One of my favorite things about him is I think he's an exceptional receiver, including down the field. This is the guy that you can legitimately play in the slot, ask him to run routes. He can run routes and he can catch a football, and he's got good ball skills. So I think he's going to be a top-tier pass catcher at the next level. I like that he enters the NFL with plenty of tread on the tires. Just over 250 touches at Georgia. Now, they rotate their backs a ton, especially in recent years. Once they got past having Nick Chubb and Sony Michel and Todd Gurley, they've been a lot more of a committee approach. So he doesn't have a ton of attempts, but I like that to a degree because I think he's a niche back and I don't want him to be overworked. My concern with James Cook is that he's got a narrow build. He doesn't really offer much in the way of power between the tackles or with contact balance. I mean, he's 5'11", 199. He's got skinny legs, skinny, kind of just a narrow overall build. He's another tough guy to find a comparison for. I have down Felix Jones, Gio Bernard. It's tough, man. He's not an easy guy to compare other players to because he's so unique. The next player I really like, Rachaad White, Arizona State, 6 foot, 214 pounds, excellent athlete. You love the blend of size, speed, and power. 6 foot, 214 pounds. He runs in the 4.4s. I think he has 3-down value, especially as a pass catcher. I think this is a guy with size, speed, power, and receiving upside. I like that a lot. My concern with him is that I think his feel for stretch runs and outside zone is hit or miss. So sometimes he likes those lanes to be established, and he's not super creative. He's not going to make something out of nothing. My comparison for Rachaad White is Melvin Gordon. Next player, this is another one of my favorites, Dameon Pierce out of Florida. 5'10", 218 pounds. I think he's an average athlete. He's a player that I got a chance to meet, and we also had him on Draft Dudes. So go listen to Draft Dudes, the Dudes discussion with Dameon Pierce. He was phenomenal. My favorite interview, bar none, of this draft cycle, Dameon Pierce. What do I like about him? His competitive spirit. He runs angry with a low center of gravity. Balanced skill set. He's a hammer between the tackles. He's good in pass protection, and he can catch the football. The concern with Dameon Pierce is that he just hadn't had a lot of opportunity. His production was pretty modest in a crowded backfield at Florida. They got a bunch of different backs going. And Florida Gators fans are pretty upset. They wanted more Dameon Pierce. You talk about Dameon Pierce on Twitter, Florida Gator fans are going to rally and start saying mean things about Dan Mullen, their former head coach, for not getting Dameon Pierce more involved. I think this guy would be a slam dunk 4th-round pick. I think he's everything you thought you were getting in Zach Moss. I think that's a really good way to put it. Everything you thought you were getting in Zach Moss, you can have in Dameon Pierce. My comp for him is Tashard Choice. Remember him with Georgia Tech and then the Dallas Cowboys? He was on the Bills actually for a couple seasons. So that's my comp. I think he's got a lot of untapped potential, and I love the way he's wired. The next player I want to get to is Jerome Ford out of Cincinnati. 5'11", 210 pounds. He's an average to above average athlete. And this guy was featured a ton in 2021 for Cincinnati. He started his career at Alabama. Then he went to Cincinnati, and he was kind of a complimentary back. Then this past year, he was their lead guy, and he flourished. I thought he was the main catalyst for that offense all season long. He's a disciplined runner with good patience and vision. He's got good speed, good size. You can see that he has a legitimate second gear on tape to run away from people. The concern is I think he's got modest passing game upside, and I think he needs growth in terms of pass protection, processing and scanning, and getting in the right spots. And then he just wasn't utilized much as a receiver at Cincinnati. My comparison for him is Lamar Miller. I think he'd be a great 4th-round pick. Next up is Ty Chandler out of North Carolina. 5'11", 204 pounds. Outstanding athlete. He ran in the 4.3s at the combine. I love that he had he's had a good career. He's a very productive player, and he did so in a variety of schemes between his time at Tennessee and North Carolina. A lot of different play callers and schemes and coordinators, and it didn't matter. He found ways to produce, and he's comfortable in zone. He's comfortable in gap runs. Super competitive runner. He's got some foot fire and some speed, and he's got some upside as a pass catcher. The concern that I have with Ty Chandler is he's just okay after contact. He's not a guy that's really going to turn out tough yards. He's an explosive guy that gives you some return upside, can catch the football, has some speed, but this isn't a guy that's really going to bang out tough yards between the tackles. My comp for him is Tevin Coleman. The next guy, another player I really like, Tyler Beatty from Missouri. 5'8", 197 pounds. He's a smooth and explosive athlete. Love his low center of gravity. He's got a dense build, great spatial awareness, and he's super elusive, man. This guy is really shifty and he's compact. I think he's got a ton of upside as a pass catcher. He had 124 catches in college, and you could tell he's got really natural hands, and he really excels in the screen game. He's 5'8". He'll hide behind those blockers, leak out into space, catch the football, make a few people miss, and create some big plays. The concern with Beatty is that I think he's a niche back. He's a pass-catching specialist. My comp for him is J.D. McKissick. I think it's a great comp, one of my favorite comps. So if the Bills wanted J.D. McKissick, they can just draft Tyler Beatty and get that same player. The next player, this is the last of my early day 3 guys, and that's Kyren Williams out of Notre Dame. 5'9", 194 pounds. He is a below-average athlete. What do you like about Kyren Williams? Well, he's got elite passing down ability. Whether it's pass blocking or receiving, he's exceptional. One of the best pass blocking running backs I've seen. And he's a really, really good pass catcher. In fact, he came to Notre Dame to play slot receiver. Turns into a really good pass catching back. And I love how competitive he is as a runner. I mean, this guy looks to maximize his touches, and you can tell that there's a lot of high energy demeanor about the way he carries the football. The concerns is that he's just not explosive or powerful. For 5'9", 194, you wish he was more explosive. He's not. And he's certainly not that powerful. So that's kind of the deal with Kyren Williams, a niche player. My comparison for him is Gio Bernard. Real quick, there's a couple of, there's 4 late day 3 guys that I like. So let's say that you miss out on these 14 players that I outlined that I think would be good picks for the Bills that can come in and be legitimate competition for Zach Moss and Duke Johnson to be the RB2. And some of these guys you look at as your potential starter and replacement for Devin Singletary. But late day 3, there's 4 players that I like to keep in mind. We'll go through these real quick. Zamir White out of Georgia. Good size, physical, powerful, downhill runner. He's got an injury history. Tore his left ACL in 2017, his right ACL in 2018. He's not very elusive, has not been very good in terms of pass blocking or catching the football. But if you're looking for a downhill hammer with speed, you get that in Zamir White. Kevin Harris out of South Carolina. I like this player. Doesn't have breakaway speed, but he's probably like a 4.6 guy. Vision, contact balance, just a throwback style runner that I think can be your RB2 and really, take those short yardage goal line carries and be productive with them. But he's not just a plotter between the tackles. He's a guy that has some ability. Zonovan Knight from NC State gives you kick return ability. I think he's a average across the board type player in terms of catching the football and running it. He's got decent vision, and he's a very competitive runner that I think would be a good late day 3 pick. And then my sleeper running back is Jashawn Corbin out of Florida State. I think that this guy could be a day 3 overachiever where didn't get a ton of opportunity at Florida State, but when you watch him run, there's something about him. He's physical. He's competitive. He's got good speed. He can catch a football. He's my sleeper back in this class, which is weird. You shouldn't be talking about sleeper backs from Florida State, but that's kind of where that program has shifted of late. But I think he's got a chance to be a steal on late day 3. So there you have it. A running back primer for the 2022 NFL Draft as it relates to the Buffalo Bills. We talked philosophy, and then we got into the prospects. And as you can see, there are a bunch of good prospects that I think should be on the Buffalo Bills radar, and they can really upgrade this backfield situation and potentially elevate the starting role with one of these guys that can take over for Devin Singletary in 2023 and really complement him this year. And at a minimum, challenge your depth right now that exists between Zach Moss and Duke Johnson. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here today on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I do kindly ask that you share, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. If you're with us on YouTube, a like and a comment and a subscription is always very, very, very helpful. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow.